Hi, everybody. My name is Gary Gomes. My voice is going to sound a little raspy tonight as I discuss with you Vedic astrology and how it relates to you, your lives, and the world around us. And the main reason for that is because I've had a very busy day talking, and I'm going to try to slow down a little bit and just give you the facts, the straight up facts of what's happening astrologically right now. The other thing is, I'm going to review some of the predictions I did make as recently as last week, and also talk with you about the upcoming week, what the planets mean for you personally, and where I expect to see trouble spots in the world over the next couple of weeks. Okay, so let's take it from the top. Before we get into that, I would ask you to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to get notifications of when I'm posting. I am going to be speaking at Saptarishi Astrology, Jerusalem conference next weekend, the 15th. Uh, it's a large conference. I'm one of the, I guess you could say, outreach coordinators of the conference. And so it's a fancier title than I deserve it. I essentially gathered some people to speak from the United States and from other parts of the world. So, but I'm only representing a very small number. There are around 90 speakers that were lined up for this conference. So it's something that Sunil John should be very proud of. Um, and I'll also be doing some lectures online, not lectures, excuse me, presentations online with um, Lolita Donatello Rubach and Jean Karazian. Also, I've served as um, both a board member, vice president, and president of the American Council of Vedic Astrology. And I like to discuss astrology with new people, new talent, people who want to be heard. So you're more than welcome to come onto this particular channel and talk with me. Just contact me at, you can text me at 508 525 0001. I have a couple of other astrologers lined up for discussions on this channel over the next few months. So stay tuned. We're going to be getting some really interesting people on, and we'll take it from there. So, if you want more information about Saptarishi Astrology Conference, go to saptarishi.com, saptarishi.com. And you'll find also there a variety of books, a variety of other resources. They have their own astrology software, and it's a good organization. Um, and I, you'll be enlightened and informed by it. Also, I can recommend the Council of Vedic Astrology, run by Dennis Flaherty, and the American College of Vedic Astrology, and also Dara Academy, which are really good outlets for astrology. There are a variety of really good teachers out there. Of course, I would be happy if you learn with me, but essentially, it's a good idea to find a good fit for yourself and somebody that you resonate with as a teacher or for readings. I also do readings, and I can also give recommendations for remedies in the chart so you can take back control of your life. And also, I can refer you to people who are more qualified to do certain rituals than I am. So, if you have um, if you're concerned about your future, if you're concerned about your present, if you're concerned about how life will treat you down the road, things like marriage, um, relationships, money, career, things like that. Vedic astrology reading can address all these issues for you and also give you good times to pursue these particular things. And last but not least, it's an excellent spiritual discipline, and it's been in existence for thousands of years. So it's a highly recommended field. So let's go to the charts. Enough of the ads. Let's go to the charts. And I wanted to say I actually did do a recording this morning, but the screen share option didn't work at all. So this is my second try at this today. Hopefully this will work. Okay, so it seems to be showing the same problem I had this morning. Hold on a second. Okay, good. It's working now. I got it one more time for luck. All right. Yep, it seems to be working now. So I wasn't getting a little screen image inside. My share option, which I should have paid attention to, but unfortunately I didn't. So tonight, live and in person, we have. So this is the state of the planets where we are right now. The moon was with Saturn this. No, it wasn't with Saturn this morning. It was with Saturn yesterday. The moon is in Pisces today. Um, the rising sign as we talk is Capricorn. The lord of Capricorn is Saturn. It's in the second house. So there's a lot of focus on money and financial expansion. Saturn's aspecting Venus, a lot of focus on hidden knowledge and hidden secrets, connected with government and also connected with media. Um, a lot of this discussion will be about media and what's happening in terms of justice and also in terms of government. A lot of this initial discussion. Well, I'll try to keep it briefer than I did this morning because I tended to go on a little bit longer than I wanted to. And for people who are interested in that, they just want to know about their charts. That can seem a little boring. So let's talk overall about the status of the planet. So, and we have Saturn right now is in Aquarius. It's retrograde. That little underline means it appears to be moving backwards as we see it. And as I've said before, we have three retrogrades happening at roughly the same time in August. So Saturn will be retrograde, Jupiter will be retrograde, and our friend Venus will be retrograde. It's only retrograde once every 2.5 years. I know there's a Mercury retrograde coming up pretty soon, but the earliest one that I spotted was in December. But I'm going to have to check that again for you folks, for you nice folks, on the next broadcast because I know it happens more frequently than that. I know it's going to be closer than 5 months away. So essentially, the Jupiter Rahu conjunction is over here. This will give problems to leaders, to people who guide us. So there are a lot of questions right now about the judicial system overall, all the way down in the United States, all the way down from the Supreme Court to the lowest levels of judges and people who oversee the justice system. Also, there's a certain element of perfectionism in the air. People want to see things happening in a perfect way, and they're trying to make sure everything is throttled down tight. Saturn's aspecting Jupiter. This is delaying or deferring some trials. Like the Trump trial got delayed until December. Um, and certain other trials are going to be, certain other legal judgments are going to keep on coming up, like the rumors of kickbacks in the Biden family are going to keep on coming up. Uh, Also, keep in mind, this is not, we're in the United States. This is not just happening in the United States. Um, in France is experiencing major domestic problems right now. Canada is, um, let me just see now, South America, large chunks of South America, especially all the way from Guyana to uh, Venezuela to Colombia to Bolivia to Chile to Peru to um, Ecuador to Brazil are all experiencing varying degrees of political strife, along with the inflationary pressure. And to, to a very large degree, the alliance, the economic alliance between China, Brazil, and certain other countries seems to be collapsing on itself. The other thing that's going on right now is we're having, because of the Jupiter Rahu conjunction, governments are being slammed throughout Europe and North America because of immigration problems. So a lot of the issues connected with France are indirectly connected with immigration problems. So a lot of the writing is connected with that. The Dutch government um, has had problems with its farmers, so there was a vote of no confidence in the Dutch government, and so they're going to be going to elections very soon. If this is the Netherlands and Holland, and also New Zealand is hitting some. New Zealand and Australia are both having some problems within their governments in terms of dissatisfaction with the way the countries are being run. Um, Also, if you go to different parts of the world, you'll see a lot of problems with media. Um, uh, as I mentioned last week, um, social media has, there's been a quote unquote crackdown on social media in Europe. Certain other countries are also not cracking down, but certain other countries are certainly monitoring social media much more aggressively. And uh, I think you'll also see a lot of pushback. The United States just experienced a reversal for the government in terms of monitoring social media. And um, I think this is going to be, especially in the United States, this is going to be a really huge issue starting in August of this year. It's already become a huge issue, but it'll become an even larger issue. Um, Essentially, for those of you who don't know, Meta, which is essentially Facebook, has announced its own version of Twitter. And also, Elon Musk is suing them for by claiming that they're using stolen code. So this will be interesting to watch this development over the next few months. So you'll see a lot of countries actually starting to crack down on media or monitor media more aggressively, or attempt to monitor media more aggressively. China already does it. That's a given. And I think one of the things you'll see, one of the things we can expect to see is, again, more disruption of government, more power given back to police because Mars is in Leo, and governments being more willing to use almost military action in response to riots, as has happened in France. And also more reactionary policy, so Saturn retrograde, more reactionary policies in terms of socially liberal entertainment, um, schooling, etc. So you'll hit a lot of conflict points, especially about communication over the next year and a half, the next year and a half to actually to 3 years. And one of the things that becomes really important, this becomes really important, is this little, because Rahu is moving into Pisces in um, this late November, early December. This will essentially determine um, political rulership or the seat of power, especially in the United States, but throughout the world over the next year. And I think one of the things that's we will have to watch out for, and this is going to require critical thinking on all our parts, is um, don't just look at the headlines. Don't just look at the news sources you normally look at. Look at analyses of news items. Uh, Watch out for innuendo when you're watching certain news items not that isn't factual. The other thing is overall from this chart, Saturn aspecting Jupiter, um, and also these retrogrades will tend to indicate some over optimism in August, and I would say some economic setbacks in the fall. We're already starting to see those a little bit, nothing in a major way, but a little bit in terms um, of the lower job projection rates. Now, again, that isn't uh, a dramatic indicator, and if job rates, if the jobless rates stay low in the United States in particular, you'll probably have, or if they reverse the current trend, then that's good news. I really don't want to see an economic downturn. That's not my idea of fun. However, that Saturn Jupiter aspect as it moves towards November does indicate increasing inflation. And this retrograde, I've already seen changes to the gas pumps, and this particular combination, Saturn aspecting Mars, for the next couple of months will raise gas prices. So I think one of the things to keep in mind is, again, a lot of government scandals, a lot of scandals with people in power, religious leaders, medical professionals, philosophers, people who are religious leaders, politicians, and also a lot of activity. And again, I do still say this is going to be a violent summer. It may not be particularly violent in the United States, but around the world. And that's something to watch out for. Also, Casey over in Libra, a lot of tension in relationships. I don't see the biggest potential for war will come when Mars and K2 can join, and that'll be around late September to October. But I don't see an actual war starting this year, and I certainly don't see a nuclear conflict. Okay, so I really think people are um, when there are conflicts, people tend to get really pumped up and get really panicky. And I think that that interferes with negotiations and interferes with calmness. But I'm hopeful that there will be some negotiations between Ukraine and Russia after starting in December of 2023. So let's hope that that happens. So let's go on to the individual charts for today, or for this month, for this week. I'm sorry, for this week. As I said, it's been a long day, so forgive me. Um, so essentially, for Aries, um, yeah, I just want to show you the U.S. chart for 1 second. And there are some people who tend to take the U.S. chart as being Scorpio rising. I don't think really it matters which chart you take. You're going to reach the same conclusion about the United States. Number one, the United States is so if we take the Scorpio rising sign, we have the moon's in the fourth house. Um, Mars, Jupiter, Sun, and Venus are in the eighth house. So that's money from other people. Uh, and if you take the Sagittarius rising, you have the Lord of the fourth house. So Moon is a traveling planet. It's in the third house. It's an innovative planet. It's a new planet, and is and Lord of the first house is in the seventh house, which means the United States trades and deals with other people, but also that is sneaky and has a well-established um, underground communication system, and also that its media tends to exaggerate. All media tends to exaggerate, but U.S. media tends to do it really, really well. Um, we were looking at a couple of weeks ago. We were looking at the chart of William Randolph Hearst, and I said this before. And essentially, the 19th century United States was a period of, I mean, the newspaper headlines. I've seen old newspaper headlines, and they were really something. And newspapers were at least partially responsible for starting wars. You know, you see opinions or editorials on the front page were kind of heading back into that kind of advocacy journalism, which we thought was under control, or at least was more civilized in the 50s and 60s when I grew up. But actually, it's always been kind of an advocacy journalism system. They were just more the veneer of objectivity was more apparent in the 50s and 60s, but it was never truly there. And essentially, it's almost impossible to get objective journalism. But the United States, if you look carefully at this Rahu Mercury subperiod, this will be very disruptive for the United States over the next really until around 2026, because it'll start what I would call underground movements, or not necessarily to overthrow the government, but underground movements to um, to change history or to change rules. I think you'll see a lot of cyber disruption. I think you'll see a lot of lies masquerading as truth, a lot of truth masquerading as lies. it'll be really tough to tell um, who's really telling the truth and who's lying, to be honest. So I think one of the things that I've noticed is that through the years, I was a journalism major, and I stopped being a journalism major for a really good reason. And that was I saw that journalists were really out to promote themselves rather than the truth. And this was a trend which was becoming increasingly popular in the early 70s. And I've seen it become more and more popular over the years. So, um, caveat emptor, buyer beware when you're reading news stories from whatever source. Everybody has an agenda, okay? And pay attention to things as they affect you, as they affect the ways that you think this country should be run. Um, so, again, like I said, double and triple check facts, especially over the next, especially after this is September 9th of 2023. Okay, so let's get back to the chart for our friends. That is you. Aries rising should have a relatively good week in terms of financial gains. Venus and Mars are in the fifth house, so you'll get repaid for efforts you made before. The other thing is, I'm not seeing any indications of any earthquake activity or any major eruptive activities really until really for about another 2 months or so. So don't unnecessarily worry about that. Um, the other thing is, at least from the chart, but let's go back to Aries. So Aries will have good luck with finances, good luck with relationship life, a lot of focus on home life, a lot of domination, um, a lot of ability to make his commands felt and known. Some disenchantment with relationship life or not a lot of attention with relationship life. It'll also have to watch out for his partners um, in business, not necessarily telling the whole truth. But Saturn's in the 11th house. It should give slow but steady gains. Moves in the 12th house. You'll have to be careful about spending a lot of money on home repairs. For Taurus, Taurus has Venus in the fourth house, along with Mars. This can give a condition called Mars affliction, where you can be kind of victimized or hurt by your relationship partners. And it can lead to a dissolution of a relationship, not necessarily a divorce, but a business partnership or arguments with business partners. Sun is in the second house, so this sign will be kind of aggressive, kind of forceful. Mercury's in the third house. Good chance, good potential for making money from this placement. Venus and Mars are in the fourth house. A lot of arguments about home. Saturn's in the 10th house. Good for career options for this particular rising sign, and good for financial gains overall in career, although this sign may change careers. And finally, when we get to this 12th house Lord, um, again, good for financial growth. This is not a bad time for it. But again, watch out for over expenditures, especially on friendships and on and from relationship partners. Gemini has the sun in the first house, so that's the light shining on Gemini this week. This is June 15th to July 15th. Just to clarify, this is Vedic astrology, not Western. So move every sign roughly to the 15th. So April 15th to May 15th is Aries, May 15th to June 15th is Taurus, and June 15th to July 15th is Gemini. So essentially, the sun's in Gemini right now. It's very focused on money, focused on its desires and ambitions. It will have a very forceful presence. It will be able to get whatever it wants through um, charm uh, uh, or forcefulness. The fifth house Lord, children will still be a little bit unmotivated, uncertain about what they want to do. They'll pass by the end of the year. Seventh house Lord, Jupiter is in the 11th house, so good financial gains to relationship partners, but relationship partners will still seem a little bit difficult to deal with and not sure what they want in terms of relationships. Saturn's in the ninth house, which is good for the sign. It gives a good work ethic, so you'll see some increase in financial growth, but and career will be strong. But again, gains will be frustrating for the sign, to be honest. And that'll be true for about another 2 weeks or so. For Cancer, Cancer has Mercury in the first house. It's lower the 12th and the 3rd, so that means the person will be spending money on things it wants to get for itself. Venus and Mars, um, this is a good combination, again, for bringing out your attractive nature, for bringing out also for physical activity. Also will give this sign a certain sexiness um, or attractiveness. K2 is in the fourth house. If K2 is in the fourth and Rahu is in the 10th, along with Jupiter, this gives a good combination for career growth. The Lord of the first house is in the ninth house, so actually good for career growth. But again, the moon is hemmed in by malefic planets, which means you have Saturn on one side and Rahu on the other, and that'll give some slow growth in terms of career and luck. The other thing is, at least from this chart, Saturn is, I think I said Saturn's in the ninth house. That's incorrect. Saturn's in the eighth house in this chart. And that'll give, again, some problems with relationship partners. Relationship partners will seem moody or difficult to get along with. For the rest of the sign, though, some look good for gains, but again, a lot of expenses based upon trying to please other people or trying to help other people. So just be aware of that. But some fame or some uh, increase in reputation in foreign country. For Leo, we have Venus and Mars in the first house. This is actually a good placement for the sign. It brings together some of the houses connected with career and luck for this particular rising sign. So it looks like it's going to be a good month. The only negative thing is, again, the expenditure pattern will be high, especially because of friendships, because of a lot of focus on pleasing people. But again, it will give a certain amount of wealth. K2's in the third house, um, and K2 will give a lot of courage to the sign. Saturn's in the seventh house, so it'll bring emotional stability to people with this particular combination. And Moon is in the eighth, a lot of investigation of behind the scenes events. Jupiter and Rahu are in the ninth. That's a good placement for luck for the sign. It's also what's called uh, it's sort of a Raj Yoga for this combination. Not quite, but it's close enough to come. And so there should be some increased luck for the sign. 10th house Lord is in the first house, good for career life. 11th house has Sun in it. And again, it's that exchange of the 11th and the 12th Lord between the first house and the 11th house, leading into the 12th house, finally placing it in the 12th house, which will give too much effort to pleasing friends. Okay. So just be a little careful about that. For Virgo, Virgo has Moon in the 7th house. That's not a bad placement. Could bring new partnerships, although there'll be some difficulty in getting them started, excuse me. And finally, um, I'm sorry, not finally, but oh, I gotta stop doing that. Um, gosh, what's wrong with this thing? What's wrong with me? Um, the Lord of Virgo is Mercury. It's in the 11th house, good for gains, good for finances. Again, as in the previous half a dozen signs, there's this sort of like build up and then spend. So build up and spend, kind of a combination in the chart. So K2 will um, make the chart this rising sign or this sun sign. This is Virgo. This is September 15th to October 15th. It'll make it spend money on things which are a little bit odd or unusual. It can be prone to being taken advantage of by relationship partners. And let's see now. Saturn's in the 6th house. So again, there's a tendency for this sign to work a little bit too hard or to stretch itself just a little bit too thin. Jupiter's with Rahu in the 8th house is a strong desire or ambition for unseen knowledge or for digging below the surface. And Sun's in the 10th house, a lot of emphasis on career and success in career because of Mercury being the Lord of the 10th house too. For Libra, Libra has K2 in the 1st house. It's been there for about a year and a half. It makes it difficult for this sign to receive any kind of recognition or acknowledgement except in very small doses. So, but a lot of the work that is put in will be recognized by the end of the year and certainly by next year. The other thing this combination does is you have Saturn in the 5th house. Saturn in the 5th house is good for past life karma or past life efforts. Saturn's aspecting Jupiter and Rahu in the 7th house. So it'll bring unusual or unexpected relationship partners, maybe from other countries, maybe older or different cultures. This isn't necessarily bad, but because of Rahu being there, I don't recommend any person with Libra Sun or Libra rising take a relationship seriously at this time. I would wait and see how it matures at the end of the year, because Rahu can make a person seem like there's something different from what they actually are. Moon is in the 6th house. I think one of the things about this is the career life will be work, effort, and Sun's in the 9th house. That should give good potential for gains. Mercury's in the 10th house. Communications are an important part of this sign's livelihood, and Venus and Mars are in the 11th house. So not really a bad month for expenditures for the sign, or not necessarily a bad week, excuse me. But I think you'll see a lot of improvement in terms of financial gains for this sign over the next month or so. For Scorpio, Scorpio has the 7th Lord, which is Venus and Mars located in the 10th house. So this indicates a lot of activity with relationship partners in business. The 1st house is strong in this chart. It'll get stronger over the next few weeks. And at least from this chart, Saturn's in the 4th house. This gives what's called Asasha Yoga, and this gives this sign the ability to command or lead. Although it won't be pleasant, it won't be a good aspect. The moon is in the fifth house, um, and that gives good, generally good luck, although for limited periods of time. And Rahu and Jupiter are in the sixth house, so there will be some fighting or some disagreement with people in positions of authority. Sun's in the eighth house. If the sun's in the eighth house, the person will feel like they're a little bit confined, probably for about another 2 weeks, or not able to express themselves. Mercury's in the ninth house. That's a good placement for financial gains. Venus and Mars are earlier in the 10th house, as we said. And K2 in the 12th, be careful of theft or people trying to pilfer your goods. For Sagittarius, we have Sun in the seventh house, so there's a lot of focus on relationship, both in terms of business partnerships and relationship life. The Lord of the seventh is in the eighth house, so relationship partners may be either keeping things from you or may have hidden sources of income. The Lord of the first house is in the fifth house. That's not a bad combination, essentially, which is the Lord of an angle in a trine with Rahu, so that gives generally good luck from past efforts. And especially that'll be true throughout the end of November. And Saturn is in the third house, gives the sun a lot of courage, a lot of stamina. Let's see now. And Mercury in the eighth, we already discussed that. Venus and Mars in the ninth house. Mars is a good planet for this rising sign, Venus not so much. So essentially, it will give some gains, but with a certain amount of struggle connected to it. So financial life will be good for Sagittarius, but it will come mainly through hard work, effort. The Saturn Venus Mars opposition is a little bit difficult in terms of career luck, but if you stick to it and you work hard, it'll come. For Capricorn, Capricorn's in the first house for that's December 15th through January 15th. 20, no, that's Sagittarius. It's January 15th through February 15th. Will be will be Capricorn. My apologies. And Saturn's in the second house, aspecting Venus and Mars in the eighth house. So there will be some gains of property or um, of money through relationship partners. And the Mercury's in the seventh house, so you'll attract younger, attractive partners or people who want to learn. So that's a good thing. Um, Moon is in the third house, um, and that gives a person um, more ability to express themselves. And it's a good combination for acting or playing certain roles in life. Rahu and Jupiter are in the fourth house, so this will give increase in status, increase in reputation. But again, it's important to be careful not to besmirch your personal image or your reputation from this combination. Sun is in the sixth house. We already discussed that a little bit. A lot of effort connected with the sign. So I think overall it'll be a good week for Capricorn. Just a lot of work, similar to Scorpio. For Aquarius, Saturn's in the first house, so the sign is automatically already disciplined, already under the thumb of Saturn. It'll work hard for innovative or new ideas. It'll find itself revisiting ideas from the past that it had discarded previously. Saturn with Mars and Venus forms a really powerful work combination for this chart. It'll attract relatively good-looking or sexy relationship partners. Um, but again, I don't encourage people to get involved in relationships for another few months. But Aquarius isn't badly placed for that right now. It's one of the few signs which isn't, and it's also good for business partners more so. Saturn is approaching the moon in the chart, and the moon's in the second house, so this will change the manner of speech. Jupiter and Rahu are in the third house. A lot of ambition for this sign. That's a good thing. And Sun is in the fifth house, and that's essentially good for gains through relationship partners and gains of a romantic life. Very good for creativity too. Ketu's in the ninth house, so unexpected breaks in luck. Ketu's not always negative, but the more spiritual the person is, the luckier they'll be. And they may not get exactly what they want, but they'll get something that is actually a much better fit for them. So that's it for Aquarius. For Pisces, last but not least, the moon is in the first house. It's surrounded by negative planets, so there's a little bit of anxiety or worry connected with this placement. Mercury's in the fifth house, good for contact with younger people and good for children. Jupiter and Rahu are in the second house, may make the sign a little bit greedy or a little bit um, forceful in terms of its desires. And Sun in the fourth house, a lot of focus on home life. Mars is in the sixth house, so at least from this chart, I would tend to say that'll make the sign brave or courageous. And finally, Ketu's in the eighth house, so unseen enemies or unseen obstacles show up for this particular sign. It's nothing really horrible to worry about. They've been there for the past year or so, but past year and 3 months. And finally, Saturn's in the 12th house. So again, you have to watch out for over expenditure, like a lot of the signs we looked at in the first half of this weekly broadcast. So let's look right now. So after finishing that, let's look at the placements of the planets in terms of where we expect to see activity occurring. Okay, so things shifted a little bit since this morning, but if we start over here in the westernmost region, that's what we have as Alaska. You'll see, and this is a Mercator projection on where that it is. So North America looks much larger than it should. South America and Africa look much smaller than they should. So just be aware of that. All right. So I'm gonna try to get myself out of the way here. All right. So the first line we see is a moon line going over Hawaii. So this indicates some economic tightness for Hawaii, and especially around Kauai, and maybe even some flooding in Kauai, which is relatively common. Rahu is passing over, not really touching anything significant, but it's relatively close to Hawaii, so there may be some governmental scandals in Hawaii or some problems connected with judiciary in Hawaii, and also in Alaska. So we go up here to Alaska. This part of Alaska will have some political or judicial scandals. And over here on moving up towards the west coast, towards Vancouver, you have a descending sun line and a Mercury line running straight through Washington State, and also close to California. So California is going to be in the news. The West Coast, essentially the entire portion of the nation, to the west of Montana, will be hit with um, governmental scandals, governmental issues, and I would say a relative series of disruptions in life. We're not talking about Yellowstone National Park exploding or anything like that, but again, just political scandals. This extends through some flooding possible up through the Midwest, the northern Midwest up to Wisconsin, and also some um, some problems, some conflicts, roughly between uh, Nebraska and uh, Wisconsin, Texas, down through central Mexico. So we can expect some kind of domestic um, violence connected with leadership in this part of the world. Um, the other thing is, as we go down here, we can see this moon line passing over Venezuela, Colombia, down through Bolivia, down through Argentina, and there's also a sun line. So, and also a Mercury line passing over. So, South America will probably be in the news a great deal over the next couple of weeks, and there's even some political scandals in Uruguay and Paraguay, and also some scandals connected with judges in both the United States, especially around Pennsylvania, and also around the Boston area, close to where I am. So I think, and also over Puerto Rico. So I think, and some potential flooding in Guyana and through northern Brazil. Um, the other thing is, so essentially, we know a lot of the South American governments are in a bit of trouble. There are very few exceptions to that. So again, this is not really surprising. Um, as we go over the Atlantic, um, the east of the Azores, and so we have a Venus line over the Azores, so some potential for floods or storms over the Azores. Um, Maybe some domestic violence, although that seems unlikely. And Saturn's passing over Iceland, so some economic pressure on Iceland, and also Western Africa, the tip of Western Africa. If you go down here, you see these lines running through. This is an ascending sun line going through Ireland and France, and also close to England, and a moon line running over here. So this to me indicates domestic trouble in Spain, France, Germany, and the Netherlands has already seen its problems develop, but the moon line being over here, you'll also see some domestic problems in Sweden and definitely in Finland and Eastern Europe, and even in mid-Turkey around Ankara. This is relatively close to Ankara, Turkey, which is the capital. So there may be some questioning of governmental authorities and protests in Turkey around in a couple of weeks. Um, Also, down here through um, have to stop and think for a second, Libya and down into the uh, Sudan, and down into Mozambique. You should have those countries in the news a lot, and also some government corruption in Egypt, uh, Turkey, and down here through South Africa. From Jupiter's over here, pretty much in the area where the Ukraine is, and also in Western Turkey and through Saudi Arabia, and also all the way down pretty close to Zanzibar. So I think one of the things we can see in Eastern Africa and the near Middle East is um, more confrontations over um, political theory, philosophy, leadership. So Jupiter is still going to be going through a bit of a crisis in leadership, and especially around this region. And I think because this combination of Venus and Mars and Saturn uh, over Russia and the Ukraine region, roughly close to it, you'll see a lot of struggle and a lot of strife in that part of the world. So you'll definitely see an escalation of the war over the next couple of months. Hopefully, it won't last long. I'm hopeful that they can reach some kind of peaceful resolution sooner rather than later, even if the Rahu affecting Jupiter. But um, hopefully, you just pray for them that they can get out of this. They can find a way out of this. Uh, Iran is also experiencing some problems, and there's some violence happening in Pakistan and far western India. Um, and just see, I'm trying to make sure that. So India is a little bit less um, government controlled or government run than I saw last week, although I think that's also uh, this entire region between Mars and the Sun is going to be under strict discipline, um, even military control to a certain extent. But it'll be strongest as we get out to China. China, um, the Chinese government, and Vietnam, Borneo, and Indonesia to a lesser degree will be under strict governmental control over the next few days. And Mercury will be hearing more about the Philippines, Indonesia, and Australia over the next few days. Um, Finally, as we get out to Japan, Japan has a Jupiter line, so there'll probably be some governmental scandal in Japan and Australia down here. And finally, even some conflict in Australia, in far eastern Australia. And I would say Saturn indicates our friends in New Zealand will be going through some kind of governmental crisis, which has already started. So that's it for this week. I'll see you next week with more news, more analysis, and have a great week. And I love you all. Thanks for watching and thanks for your patience. Bye, everyone.